Hey kids! Well, we spent a couple of days in the studio cleaning everything. Electronics, floors, walls. Everything that's standing still has been cleaned. So let's take a little journey into Screaming Mosquito Studio. Let's put a light on here because the stairs are a bit dark. We got our little access way. There's an access to the roof. So, and my Beatles picture is crooked. I must have moved that when I was cleaning it. Then we got some good Beatles stuff here. Found this poster in the bottom of an old cedar trunk. I don't know if it's worth anything, but yeah, it was in the bottom of the cedar trunk. That I used to love cedar trunks. So I'm sure it's worth a few bucks. Autographed bass drum skin from Jerry Mercer. Found this keychain. I thought it was kind of morbid, but it's funny. If you remember the movie The Shining, it's actually a keychain. Got Beatles and The Who and old keys. That's an emergency light. Kind of slick. GoPro cameras suck in the dark, that's why I'm carrying a flashlight. So yeah, we cleaned everything. So everything's kind of crooked. Yours truly. One of my favorite bands, the Peace Vibe. So that was a promo I did, graphic design, and then we photographed the band from the rooftop of the house. I thought it was pretty cool. Definitely got the 60s vibe. One of the greatest rock bands ever, King's X. Any doubters can drop dead. So, as you can see, I built this amp rack from scrap parts. The shelving's adjustable. It carries 3 amplifiers. The bottom one is a vintage Super Reverb. That sucker's been gone through, modded. It sounds absolutely amazing. It's going to the grave with me. This is a Fender Tweed. I believe it's in the 90s. Bought it off a friend of mine named Ray Cave. He was a local guitar player, airplane pilot. Sadly, he passed away. He lived down the street from me for a while in the 90s. Got to know him, and he found that amp too big to carry around. And he gave me a deal that I could not pass up. And it's been here ever since. He bought it new, and it's, again, part of the recording arsenal that I use. This is a vintage Lab series amp. If you're a King's X fan or BB King fan, both those guitar players used a model of Lab series. This is an L3. I believe they used either L4s or 5s, the bigger amps, but I got this one cheap. The person didn't know what it was, didn't think it was worth anything. And it is a solid state, one of the few solid state amps I own. And it is the closest to a tube amp you're ever going to get out of a solid state. So that is a nice amp. That is my Acetone echo chamber. One of the earliest ones, which I think this one is either 70 or 71. Roland Space Echo, very similar, but came after this. So this is one of the originals. That thing has been gone through top to bottom, totally refurbished by a friend of mine who's great with electronics. He even did a full schematic on this thing. It's just a work of art. Guy's super talented, and it worked when I got it, but a lot of the parts were old and started to go, so he redid it all. Definitely a wonderful unit. These are these old Boss half rack systems. I think there were 4 or 6 in the series. I bought the compressor. I recently bought the reverb unit. I've used the compressor for years. I've had that sign for a while. As you can tell, music critics will be eaten. Yeah, we don't go for music critics here. This is the house of making all kinds of music. And I don't care what it is. Country, rock, weird, prog. So we cleaned everything. We cleaned the figurines. We cleaned the board. We cleaned the walls. We cleaned everything. This is a full rack here with patch bays. Like I say, it's hard to see. This GoPro sucks. So, got patch bays. There's effects and compressors and gates. We have another mixer in here. I like Mackie mixers, so we got a lot of Mackie mixers. I've got a Mackie big knob, so going to incorporate that into my rig. Running 3 sets of speakers here, tops, mids, and these bottom ones. These Yamaha ones are pretty much my favorites. We're trying to get a mix. This is the little corner for watching movies, concerts, and stuff in my studio. This stereo was actually hooked up to the recording rig. This is a poster from my childhood. You can't find this thing. This thing is so rare. It's actually a black light. So if I had a black light, it would glow like crazy. But I put it in a frame, and it's been with me since I was a kid. 1975, I think this came out. So that's a piece of my childhood. I love horror movies from back then. I love Frankenstein. And I bought that at Woco. And it's been with me and followed me through my life. So now it's in a beautiful frame. Here's Animal Learning Piano. These are some of my guitars. This is a US Tele, a US G&L Tele. That's a Beetle bass. This is a Schecter Classic C1, I remember, but this is the first one with the 3 knobs. They've gone to 2 since then. I don't know why. That's an Epiphone Les Paul Jr. All I use that for is slide guitar. This is like an access door to my furnace area, and I store some hardware in there, but that's my furnace, hot water tank. So I made an access way when I did all the studio. The hot water tank is in behind here. This whole weird looking psychedelic background, that's material. It's actually on a giant hinged door. So this door has got a latch down here, right there. So if the hot water tank ever gives me issues, and I actually have to change it soon, because insurance companies are pricks and they put time limits on all these things. This whole door, I take the guitars off, this whole door opens right up. So, and you can access all the piping. So this is kind of like storage for guitar. I play this piano quite a bit for songwriting. This is like a small Korg synthesizer, a finger synth, I guess you can call it. It has a theremin sound sometimes too. Killer monitor for my piano. I just love the sound out of that. This is access to the other side of the basement right now, but that's all a disaster area because when I clean this side, I throw stuff around over there. So anyways, that's all my CDs in the corner, and inside this cabinet here are full of microphones, different microphones that I like to try out and use with recordings. I got tons. I got a microphone fetish. This is my Galen Kruger. It's the 400 RB, I think it is. I can't even remember. Yeah, RB. I got two of those. I got one on the other side for jamming with an SWR 8x8. And this funky bass, which I've mentioned before. This is actually where I have the singers. I have a special booth. It's a tear down booth, and it goes right here, right in the spot, and it's on a stand, so the singers are totally enclosed, and we can get the vocals done. That's access to a storage area. You might wonder why the door is so low. That's because there's a big support beam for the house right there, and that's the only height. So you crawl under that. There's my sump pump, and just storage area, sump pump and storage area, and the water meter. So these are just a few of the pedals. I have a pedal collecting fetish also. These are just a few that I use a lot lately. But believe me, I am a guitar pedal hoarder. I have a 6-drawer dresser full of them. So my wife was nice enough to buy me the On Air sign. I use that when I'm doing my Glenn Yap series on YouTube. And my friend Cheryl had a confectionery store, and she sold me that. She was selling it in a garage sale. They closed their store, and I thought it was the neatest thing. Small enough to use in my studio. So the old pig nose, I use that out in the garage in the summertime, just sitting in the chair. If you want to just practice without having to be tied to electric outlets, just put batteries in it. It's fantastic. So that's my recording rig. You've seen it many times. A few upgrades on it, but not too much. I love analog boards. Going into digital, that's just my way. I'm never going to change. This is the last rig I'm buying. All my songs are just going to be written on these and recorded, and when they're done, they're done. I'm not going to upgrade anything ever again. I'm 6 years old. I'm not putting any more money into music. As you can tell, I've got way too much money into music. Some Prince, John Lennon. I love the Beatles. I love the 60s. Jimi Hendrix, The Who, Magic Bus. My wife bought this for me, which is killer. Perfect for recording studio. A Jimi Hendrix picture. You can tell I've been cleaning. I've been moving stuff around. So I didn't bother buying a sub kick. I made one. They're real easy to make. Why spend the big bucks? Buy an old speaker, hook it up. There's no way I'm paying what they do for a sub kick. And you know what? It sounds exactly the same. I made it out of scrap parts. I had some stereo speakers. I had a scrap drum. Run a few wires in it and a couple of resistors. And it's all good. And it works fantastic. I've got another one I'm going to be making too for that side. But I don't use too much double bass on some of the recordings that I'm doing right now. And if I do, I just put a cheater beater on the same kick. But I do love double kick more than cheater beaters. I tune these bass drums totally different. This one low, this one high. There's a disadvantage to double bass on a single kick. I don't like it as much. The drum head, for one, doesn't react well for double bass compared to two bass drums. There's no interference when you got two bass drums. That's a beautiful, in that case, an Epiphone, kind of like a Gretsch semi-acoustic. My wife bought me. I've got a recording I'm doing with that, with a 60s kind of vibe. And I love this Vox amp. I can't remember if it's an AC60 or AV60, but it sounds great, that thing. A guy was moving out of town and he was just dumping stuff. He had to go. He had a deadline, and he was just dumping the stuff. So I think I picked that up for $200. The thing is just mint, and I've done some recording with it, and it's beautiful. It's partial tube and solid state, I guess. Tube preamps. I think there's 2 tubes in it. So anyways, the monitor, so I can control all the software here from behind the drums. I don't need anybody. So I cleaned the kit today too. I vacuumed all the floor, cleaned the cables, cleaned this. This is all stainless steel. All these tubes are stainless steel, not chrome. So the stainless steel took me a while to do. We're going back here. These are just monitor speakers when I want to just sit at the control desk and play acoustic and sing, practice, you know, that kind of thing. This is actually a wonderful old synthesizer, DPM-4 by Peavey. Peavey made some good shit back in the days. This synth is phenomenal. The guy in Sting years ago used one with weighted keys. Phenomenal. Yeah, so here we go. Yeah, usually the monitor. Where's my mouse? I got a little mouse here that's right here. Everything's wireless over here. There we go. So as you can see, I've got this. I can control my software. There's the studio one over there. I'm a Camco pedal fanatic. These are modified though. I modified them. Chains are really short, so I play flat foot, so I like doing some different things with pedals. The 5000 DW runs a cable hi-hat over here. Instead of cymbals, I've got Remo spokes, and they make a chimey sound. That's the Terry Bozzio in me. I love Terry Bozzio. He uses one exclusively. The left Camco, I think I own about 6 or 7 of these Camcos. That Camco is a trigger for this. These are triggers that I made. I welded these little boxes on shafts and they clamp on. So there's 1, 2 there. There's 1 here. So I can come off of here and hit a gong sound. Triggers a sound in the main brain of this. I can also take this, trigger keyboard phrases in the synthesizer. I think I've done a video on that before. Metronome Dr. Beat. That thing has been with me since I was a kid. One of the best metronomes. If you can find one, grab it. They're great. Perfect practice tool. The ambassador coated heads that I've tried on these are holding up good. The heat from the furnace, like I got a vent up here, puts them out of tune a little bit, so I gotta, before I record, I always retune them, make sure they're good. But I actually like the sound of these white coated on here. They're pretty big. As you can see, I piggyback cymbals. This is called a swish cymbal. They look like China's, but they're a lot thinner. And I don't even know if they make them anymore. That thing's been with me since I was a wee lad. And they smash together on. I like trashy sounds. Got another one piggybacked into this one. This one here is interesting. It's a China, with a smaller China with rivets on it. So the 2 smash together. And this one and this one, you can swipe them together, get a neat sound. This is like a baby China, but you hit them together or individually. It's pretty cool. So anyways, that's the scoop. I got when I'm doing recording, I got different hi-hats. different ride cymbals for different projects. Some people want different sounds. So I've got old school rides in there, got dry rides, all different shit. This is nothing. I got so many cymbals and drums. That's my monitoring rig for back here. Anyways, oh yeah, we're working on this guy's stuff. Gavin Harrison, one of my favorite drummers right now. This guy, I bought every book he's had out. So this is my little practice area for warming up, and then my exercises I do in the kit behind me, or on the electronic drums in the other room, or on the other drum set that's set up on the other side. Found that wonderful light there. It's a giant, massive, look at my hand compared to this. This is the light bulb lamp. I love it. Pawn shop, not a pawn shop, garage sale for 20 bucks. So there's all my power supply. All my studio is on its own circuits at the fuse panel, so I've rewired it all. So it's totally independent from everything in the house. People have asked about the flooring. The flooring is all soundproofed underneath. It's a beautiful cherry wood floor, but there is no echo whatsoever. The only downfall where I had to build a studio is my access to the drains. So I've got a door there. I'm actually waiting for, I ordered a framing for this door, this trap, just to open up. And it's like the lids on a sailboat. And with COVID and all that, everything got back ordered to infinity. So it's like, I've been waiting years for it. So I thought of different ways of doing it, but the boat hatch thing is what I wanted, because it's got a nice simple frame on the outside and the inside, and I can just hinge it with these really cool flat hinges. So once it's in, it'll look great. The walls are all insulated, soundproofed. The ceiling looks like tile. It's actually rubber. It's a thin layer of rubber, and in behind there's 1 inch on the tile of insulation. That insulates it, but I also, in the beams, put more soundproofing. So it is soundproofed, like it is dead in here. But not enough to take away from a couple of room mics that I usually set up right here for the drums. Because back here, there's a slight little echo chamber with this box being like up here. This is all my vent work. But there's just a little bit of reverb in here in this little area. So when I put the room mics here and the drums are there, it's excellent for what I want to do. I'm not into that big Metallica sound. In fact, I can't stand it. I just can't stand that processed drum shit. I'm old school. I want to hear my drums the way they sound to me. I don't want to hear all this synthetic crap. I don't want triggers on them. I don't want nothing. I want the drums to sound like what they are. So what I also do is I put a microphone out there, leave the door open a crack. Sometimes I'll leave this open a crack and put a mic there, and that gives it a neat effect. So all a bunch of little tricks. So anyways, the studio is clean, ready to make some more noise. Thanks for watching.